Welcome to Politics News Wolf US channel. With the arrival of spring, the war in Ukraine started to stir again the offensive operations of the army from the front line, which remains stable throughout the winter, are coming one after another. On the other hand, the Ukrainian army maintains its defensive power. On the other hand, it continues the preparations for the Great Offensive Plan. The Ukrainian army, which has strengthened its defense line, especially on the Eastern Front, has also taken measures against the Russian Black Sea Navy. The Ukrainian defense units in the south were supported by air defense systems, and defensive measures were taken from missiles to be fired from the Russian Black Sea Fleet. In addition, the increase of the Ukrainian army's defense on the western coastline, which includes the port of Odessa, also began to restrict the activities of the Russian Black Sea Fleet. In addition, the Southern Operations Office continues its attacks against Russian elements in Crimea. Here in this video, we will tell you about the defense lines of the Ukrainian army and the latest developments about the course of the war. Let's examine together the situation of the Ukrainian forces' attacks and the latest situation of the Russian Black Sea Fleet. Recently, Russia's naval group in the Black Sea consisted of 14 warships, 2 of which were missile carriers of the Kalibr type. The Russian naval group was somewhat reduced, but the missile carriers remained in place. In the evening of the previous day, there were 17 ships in the Black Sea, but now there are 14. It is unknown where the 3 ships went. In addition, the 2 surface missile carriers remain on combat duty with a barrage of maximum 16 Kalibr-type missiles. This means that they are ready to fire the missiles, but may not, because at this point it is known that the Russians do not have many Kalibr-type missiles and it is difficult to replenish stocks. In addition, the weather in the Black Sea has deteriorated significantly. There is a strong 4 to 5 storm over the Black Sea right now. Russian troops launched 23 cruise missiles on Ukrainian territory the other day. This was Russia's toughest attack on settlements ever. Although the Ukrainian air defense units were activated on time, Russian missiles damaged residences in Oman city of Cherkasy region. Ukraine CA, city of Kiev region, Andro city, and civilian casualties were reported following this attack. The Ukrainian Air Force shot down 21 Russian missiles, 2 operational tactical drones and 2 attack aircraft. Long-range attacks over the Russian Black Sea Fleet show us how much Russia's war effort has regressed. Since the Ukrainian army increased its attacks on Crimea, the Russian fleet continues its attacks from the Crimean offshore without approaching the coastline. Also, the western coast of Ukraine is now hell for the Russian Navy. The Ukrainian army has equipped the western coastline with Harpoon missiles. If we take into account that the Harpoons have a maximum range of 140 kilometers, the remaining 14 ships of the Russian Navy will suffer the same fate as the Russian flagship Moser when they enter this range. So what about the offensive operations of the Ukrainian army? The Ukrainian army continues its attacks, especially against the Crimea. Recently, the armed forces of Ukraine announced that the attack on an oil reserve in the Russian-controlled Crimea region is part of preparations for the upcoming spring counter-offensive, a Russian-controlled oil depot in Silva Pol, the largest city on the Crimea Peninsula, caught fire in the early morning hours of the weekend. Mikhail Razov, High SVA polls. Local governor appointed by Moscow later said the incident was caused by an attack from 2 drones with the fire reaching 21,500 square feet. The armed forces of Ukraine confirmed that the attack on the oil depot was carried out by Ukrainian forces in preparation for the large, full-scale offensive that everyone expects. The Ukrainian armed forces also claimed that the logistics of the Russian army had been undermined and that the Russian authorities in the region were now trying to evacuate their families and leave Crimea themselves in response to the attack. Russia took control of Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula in 2014 despite Russia's insistence that control is based on a referendum by the Crimean people. This move has been widely condemned on the world stage, and many countries continue to recognize the peninsula as Ukrainian territory. In the statements made about the oil depot attack that took place over the weekend, it was emphasized that the attack did not harm anyone and would not have a detrimental effect on the energy situation in the Crimea. In the last 6 months, there have been numerous reports of similar fires and attacks from Crimea, especially around Sebastopol. Besides being the largest city in Crimea, Svetopol is an important port that serves as the home base for Russia's Black Sea Fleet. Regarding the oil tank attack recently, Ukraine can get a little cold at night in the spring, so the Ukrainian armed forces generously helped warm up in Svetopol, which is under the control of the Russian army. A Ukrainian official said, during the past year-long war with Russia, Ukrainian officials have often discussed the possibility of an attempt to retake Crimea as part of the struggle to drive out the Russian army. Senior Ukrainian government official claimed in recent weeks that the Russian officials had fled the area ahead of a planned spring counterattack. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, chief representative in Crimea, Talia Tava, said the Russians are starting to become concerned about Ukraine's efforts to recapture the area that was taken under Russian control by Russian President Vladimir Putin in 2014, weeks after the start of Putin's war with Russia. The yellow alert level is in effect in parts of Crimea. Russian forces are constantly fortifying the peninsula, fearing that Ukraine will advance. Last February, a Ukrainian official said his country was preparing assault brigades to retake Russian-controlled territory, including Crimea. Many fear that such a move would be a red line for Russia, prompting Putin to use his country's nuclear capabilities to defend the region. Ukrainian officials who previously said that approximately 500,000 to 800,000 Russians currently live in Crimea and can be forcibly deported in accordance with Ukrainian legislation and international law norms also stated that these Russians abandoned their pelts to protect themselves from a possible Ukrainian attack. Authorities stated that thousands of Russians no longer have the desire to buy property in Crimea. They just left the peninsula. There are no statistics on the departure of the Russians because the Ukrainian authorities unfortunately do not have access to these figures. But it can be easily understood from the queues at the KSH bridge that there are thousands of people leaving the Crimea lands. This is seen again in the real estate market in Crimea when the communications on various social networks are followed. It is understood that thousands of people have put their houses up for sale and left here in November. Head of the Crimean project and education platform Q-Hub said that the Russians had fled from Crimea to the neighboring Russian region of Krasnodar. Thank you for watching the video. We value your opinion. Please comment, share them with us, and thank you so much once again for watching this video. See you in my next video.